I'm a little bit like the kid who does the term paper, pulls an all-nighter when it's due. I need a little bit of pressure.
I was talking to your longtime producer, Bruce Cornblatt.
Yes.
And he brought up a conversation you once had with Wayne Gretzky about how when he's skating down the ice, everything just slows down.
Yeah.
How is that similar for you with television?
When I'm at my best, I feel comfortable being on the air. I feel as if the preparation can be brought to bear, but that I'm also spontaneous enough and it's fluid enough that if something I couldn't have anticipated happens or something just pops into my head, that I can respond to that in the moment, that I can draw upon something I know or some aspect of my personality can connect to it.
In what ways are you a perfectionist?
In more ways than I care to list. And on the one hand, being a perfectionist is a good thing because you're holding yourself to a certain standard. And you're not saying, well, because I've done well 500 times before, the 501st is one where I can rest on my laurels. I'll think about how I could do it better the next time, or why the hell didn't I think of that in the moment? I'll give you just one example. Game 6 of the 1995 World Series. Cleveland against the Braves in Atlanta. The Braves are up 3-2. The Braves had been in the World Series 3 times since 1991 and could never close the deal. To that point, they were clearly the team of the decade. So what I did say made sense in the moment. Marquise Grissom makes the catch, and I say the team of the 90s has its world championship. Okay, it's serviceable, it's decent. And not more than 5 seconds later, this pops into my head. Atlanta at last. Now that's good, but it's 5 seconds too late. I still remember what I didn't say as much as what I did say.
I talked to a number of people close to you, and everybody said you have a photographic memory. Your thoughts?
I've never bought into that completely because photographic means that in truth, you absolutely recall everything.
Bob Costas can recall items from 50 years ago as if they happened yesterday. A truth or fact that happened, he draws on it instantaneously, as if it's magically thrust to his mouth and he can express it.
He can describe a baseball game from 1927, inning by inning. It's pretty creepy.
One imagines somewhere it's a burden. You got to keep buying more memory for that computer up there, but he doesn't seem to have any problem with it.
My memory was always very sharp. I think it's still probably sharper than the average person my age, but I see some diminution in it. Yeah, I can't as instantly recall what I'm looking for. It's still good, but it's not quite at whatever level it once was. I will give you a demonstration that I've never done before. I was bored in like the 4th grade, and back then kids had pencil boxes, and this particular pencil box had all the presidents. And so because I was bored and not paying attention, I memorized all the presidents. And you're gonna notice that I'm gonna slow down when it gets to Lyndon Johnson because now I have to think of them consciously. Washington Adams, Jefferson, Madison, Monroe Adams, Jackson Van Buren, Harrison, Tyler, Polk, Taylor, Fillmore, Pierce, Buchanan, Lincoln, Johnson, Grant, Hayes, Garfield, Arthur, Cleveland, Harrison, Cleveland again, McKinley, Roosevelt, Taft, Wilson, Harding, Coolidge, Hoover, Roosevelt, Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden.
Wow.
But there are other things that I'm completely inept at. One good thing about me is I don't pretend to stuff I can't do. I never, although I have pretty good knowledge of the subjects that I talk about, if someone asks me about something that I'm not really up to speed on, I never fake it. I say, I don't know.
How do you prepare for an interview, and what's your process for writing questions?
I usually write bullet points, areas that I want to get into. I never write out the question word for word. And one of the worst things you can do is be completely locked into, I just asked question 3 and I'm going to ask question 4 next, because if the person you're talking to says something that either demands clarification or follow-up or elaboration, something you couldn't have expected, wow, that's interesting, tell me more, You have to be nimble enough. You want to be prepared enough that you have more than enough that if the game went 20 innings, you still wouldn't be out of stuff. But you're not committed to using it all.
Your longtime producer and I guess equally close friend, Bruce Cornblatt, told me he has learned to only ever get nervous if he finds out you're thinking about something too soon. What do you think of that?
I'm a little bit like the kid who does the term paper, pulls an all-nighter when it's due, but I still get it done, and it doesn't, the quality of it isn't diminished. I need a little bit of pressure.
He is the annoying kid that would study Sunday night for a Monday exam. His most intense preparation is the night before and 20 minutes before when he and I go over things. And he somehow retains that better than a week ahead. The rest of us want to be marinating in it. He just wants to cook.
Football Night in America commentaries that you used to give, halftime, Sunday night football, couple minutes. You oftentimes wouldn't write it until the first quarter of the actual game.
Yeah, that's right. What I would do is I would pick up the phone and I would call Aaron Cohen, longtime writing collaborator who would be in New York, and I would kind of off the top of my head dictate the general idea. He'd shoot me back a draft, then I'd fiddle with it, shoot it back to him, and we'd have it. And usually we finished it about, 4 minutes, 5 minutes to go in the second quarter. But it would be rare that I'd be thinking about it on Wednesday or Thursday leading up to Sunday.
You have at times been challenged when it comes to punctuality.
Yes.
Any connectivity between your process for preparing and punctuality?
I don't know. I haven't thought about it in that kind of depth. I hope I have some virtues. If among the worst of your vices is that you're not especially punctual, I'll live with that, and I'll cop to that. In fact, they used to do, at NBC, they would often give me a false start time. We want you here at 9 a.m., when they really needed me at 9:30. Then when I showed up at 9:15, they figured I was 15 minutes early. But my response always was, you've booked an hour for this. I'm gonna get it on the first take. The net is gonna be, you're gonna have 45 minutes of twiddling your thumbs. So what's your complaint?
Was there some instance at KMOX back in the day in terms of?
Oh, that you're talking about missing the plane to Memphis? Yeah, I was the very young voice of the Spirits of St. Louis of the old ABA. I don't take into account the possibility of a traffic jam or whatever it might be, and so I miss the initial flight. But there's another one at 5 o'clock. There's a thunderstorm, and the plane is delayed. And eventually I get to the arena like 4 or 5 minutes into the game. And they have my late close friend, who was my broadcast partner on home games, Bill Wilkerson, back at the station saying, we're having technical difficulties. And he later says that was true because technically you're an idiot. And so I eventually show up, I do the game, my heart is pounding. I'm thinking, for sure I'm gonna get fired. But luckily, they must have seen something in me and they took pity on me and they gave me a stern lecture, but let me continue. But after the game was over, Marvin Barnes, who was the star of the team, draped an arm over my shoulder, trying to console me. And he said, bro, don't worry. If they fire your sorry ass, I've been looking for a little white dude to drive my Rolls Royce, so you got a job.